TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Hey gang, welcome to the show. Today is Sunday. It is 6/23, June 23rd already. And we're getting to almost the halfway point in Major League Baseball. Not quite there yet, but we're getting there. Let's see if I can move this a little bit. There we go. And there were some interesting things that's been going on in Major League Baseball. And one of them, everybody talks about, all these pitchers getting hurt and, what happens and all that stuff. Well, what we don't talk about is when these pitchers come back. And kind of what do you do with those guys, and how do you handicap, a returning pitcher? Like today, you have Kyle Freeland who's coming back for Colorado, and I think two things when you think about these pitchers and what do you do with them and how do you handicap them? I think the first thing is you got to figure out. Well, what happened? Well, I mean, how did he get hurt? What was his injury? Is it something that's really going to affect the quality of how he pitches, or is it something kind of weird? Sometimes they, go cover first base and they twist their ankle or something, and it has nothing to do with their elbow, has nothing to do with their shoulder, has nothing to do with their fingers or hands. So in Freeland's case, he was a pinch runner. And he was trying to score on a wild pitch or whatever it was from third base and got in a collision with the catcher and got hurt that way. It was an upper body injury. It was a shoulder arm, forearm kind of problem. But the other part of it is once you figure out kind of that part of it, then it's, well, what do we expect? And I talked about it briefly before, and we'll hit it again. It's very much a problem for when these guys go out, especially guys that have already started. Now, Freeland, he started. He's already thrown 4 starts, and then he got hurt. But in those 4 starts, 2 things. One, he went to driveline over the course of the off season, and they helped him with his velocity. So he started throwing harder. That didn't help him. He was still getting crushed, but he was throwing harder. So it'll be interesting to see if he maintains the velocity that he had increased from the driveline exercise. And then 2, when these guys come back, it takes them, I'm going to say somewhere between 3 and 6 starts usually to get back to whatever form it is that you would expect of them. So once they build up to that, then you can kind of look at them as kind of a normal pitcher again. But it's different. Each one's a little bit different, but that's the general rule. So the difference in the big part picture is, so you have a guy like Freeland who already started. He got hurt. He's gone. He comes back. He starts today. And then you have a guy like Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer's been out the whole season. He hasn't pitched at all. And he's going to pitch today. He's going to make his major league debut today, or not his season debut today. So what do we expect from Max? Well, it's a different spot because, he was hurt and he's been working through things, but he's had a ton of pitching on the side. He's had pitching in AA and AAA. So he's had some rehab starts. And, he's a veteran guy, so he knows how to take care of himself, knows how to handle his body a little bit. So you're going to expect him to pitch similarly to an opening day start. So, it's one of those spots where, okay, we're ready to go. I haven't quite had a full spring training, but I've had some work. So as he's developing and he's trying to get his stuff together, I would say it's kind of like that for him. Now, the big thing with those guys is they're not going to pitch that long. He's not going to be able to throw 100 pitches. He's going to, he'll have a pitch count somewhere in the 70s, and then he comes out of the game, and then you have the bullpens that come in. But I would also say that the sports books and the general public, the reason you bring these things up is because they don't look at it that way. They look at it like Max Scherzer is going to be the guy that goes out there today, and he's the same guy that's going to be in the playoffs and start these playoff games and be full compete mode, and his stuff is as good as he can get it to be, and it won't be. It'll be down from that. So there's guys like that, like Walker Buehler, right? Walker Buehler fits that category, right? He's not the same pitcher at all. So I remember there's Alex Cobb had these problems when he came back. He was a problem trying to get through some of his injury issues. So one of the things I think is a good spot for gamblers and for us who's trying to pick off lines and do different things. You look for these spots and you want to go against the guy who's returning. So we're going to talk about that as part of plays today. So I wanted to mention why, first of all, we're going to do that. And then second, kind of what I look at is kind of general rules and purposes for these guys. So it also depends on sort of the length of time that these guys are missing, because some of these guys like Michael Wacha, he pitched yesterday. They only missed 2 starts. And if you only miss 2 starts, that's way different than missing a month or a month and a half or 2 months. So that's why, every one of these spots is a little bit different. You have to kind of investigate it to a degree. But it is important to understand that most of the time, that a pitcher that went out and came back is not the same guy. Look at Framber Valdez. When he left and came back, he's not the same guy. But as of right now, he's pitching pretty well. So it takes a little bit of time for these guys to ramp up, right? You got to get it going. And I think I've spent a lot of time in the game, been in the clubhouses, been doing, used to do that stuff. I was a catcher, so. One of the things I don't think people really realize is how much these guys throw. So they make their start, whatever day it is. We'll just say it was yesterday. They made their start yesterday. They throw 100 pitches yesterday. So then the next day they're going to rest. They don't do much. They might stretch. They might do some stuff but they want to take care of that muscle and the fatigue that's in their shoulder and their arm. The very next day, they go throw again. They call them bullpens. So you'll hear that term. But they throw again. And they're going to go throw 25 to 40 pitches in a bullpen. And then the next day, they rest. And then the next day, they scout. So this is the 4th day. They scout. And what they're doing is they're scouting the opponent that they're getting ready to face. And then the next day, they're starting again. And that's the same routine over and over and over. And, of course, they run and they jog and they do things to take care of their legs and that kind of stuff. But they don't just wait every 5 days and go out there and throw, because there's time in between. And in that time in between, they got to keep their arm going, because the whole purpose of this thing is to throw 100 pitches with no stress on your arm and just go out there and throw it without fatigue. And you're not going to be able to do that until you build that up. You got to build up the arm strength. So So I don't think people really realize how much throwing these guys do. And when you don't have all of that, you're not really physically ready for those things, right? So it's just kind of like that a little bit, I suppose. It's interesting how some of that stuff plays out that way. So that's one of the things I want to talk about. Another guy who's going to pitch today that we can talk about is what do we do with people like Kyle Tyler? Now, Kyle Tyler is going to pitch for the Marlins today, and he has pitched in the major leagues before, but not very much. And when he did, he came in a relief role. So when he was down in the minor leagues, he's been a starting pitcher. So what do we expect from guys like these guys? Well, it's kind of different. 5 years ago, it used to be that these were great guys to bet on, especially late in the season, because the hitters have never seen them before. So the advantage goes to the pitcher. When the hitter has never seen the pitcher and the stuff that he has and the movement on the ball and the spin and all that other stuff and where he releases the ball from, the pitcher has the edge. However, I will say that in today's game, it's changed a little bit. Unless your name is Paul Skeens or you are a highly touted, highly coveted prospect, your stuff outweighs the advantage that the hitter has, or so the hitter has been taking care of these pitchers. All these young kids have come up that have pitched that haven't done pretty well, and it's taken them 3 or 4 or 5 starts before they finally get it, and they kind of go together. It's another guy like that today, pitching for the White Sox, is Kannon. Cannon's pitched 2 games when he first came up and back in April, got shelled both times. They got rid of him, sent him down, and now he's back up. He's thrown extremely well. So it's very difficult for these young kids to figure it out unless your stuff is electric. I mean, when I say electric, I mean Paul Skeens is, he's one of these guys that is just different. So when it comes to a guy like that, he's throwing 103, 100, 102, 101 out on all the pitches. It makes it difficult for the hitter no matter what. So anyway, point being is that there's different means and different ways to do this and attack certain things. And I kind of thought it might be interesting to talk about that a little bit, because you say all of those things, and then like what the Red Sox are doing today, the Red Sox are starting Zach Kelly. Zach Kelly's a relief pitcher, so this is going to be a bullpen day. And he'll go 1 or 2 innings, and then the next guy will come in and he'll throw 1 or 2 innings, and then they'll have a guy. These guys will go 1 or 2 innings through the whole game. So the advantage to that is that for the Reds, we'll just use Ellie De La Cruz because he's going to bat second. When he comes up, he's going to see Zach Kelly. Well, the next time he comes up, he's going to see somebody else. The next time he comes up, he's going to see somebody else, and the next time he comes up, he's going to see somebody else again. So then, as long as every one of these relief pitchers that comes in for Boston is in a spot where they're throwing well, then Boston's got a pretty good shot, even though it's a bullpen day. The reality is that it's hard to go out and have 6 guys come in and pitch and have all 6 guys be on their A game, because it just doesn't work that way. Usually there's 1 guy or maybe 2 guys that can't get anybody out or struggle or throw the ball all over the place, can't throw strikes, walk people, or do something. So the reality is that it takes it. They really want a bulk guy. That's what you're going to hear the term is a bulk guy. They want a guy to go out and start the game. They want a bulk guy who can go through the lineup once. So that's like 3 innings. So you get a guy that goes out there, starts the game. He goes out and goes 1 inning, maybe 2 innings. Then the next guy comes in, throws 3 innings. Well, now you're into the 5th inning already. And then you can bring in your regular bullpen guys and you have 6th, the 7th, the 8th, have a plan for that. And you can get through that game. That's what the Rays were very famous for these bullpen openers. That's, kind of openers. anyway, when you're handicapping that kind of stuff, you got to keep in mind that that's the style of the game. That doesn't mean that the Red Sox are out of it. So, they play Lodolo today. And I think that, when I was looking at this, like, where's my number at in this game? The Red Sox, I have Cincinnati minus 119, minus 120. Lodolo is really good, but it's minus 120. And the number is 157 or something like that. So you got value in betting the Red Sox. So I'm going to sit here and tell you that I get it. If you're handicapping and you use Kelly as the starting pitcher, that's the wrong way to do it. You have to use the bullpen. And currently, when I pull up their numbers, where's my other sheet over here? That's the wrong one. It is here, and go to the bullpen. The Boston bullpen currently is 10, or that's not it. Boston's bullpen in the last 14 days is ranked number one in WAR for all bullpens in Major League Baseball. So you got the best bullpen, and you're facing a good pitcher. He's not the best pitcher; he's just a good pitcher. So I think this number's out of whack. So I would tell you that your value is in Boston, and certainly the Boston offense is better than Cincinnati's offense. And if you look at the number on that and how that breaks down, the offense for Boston right now is 8th, and they are 12th in ISO. They are 28% better than an average offense. Cincinnati is 23rd in offense, 18th in ISO, and they are 19% worse than a regular offense. So this is the kind of stuff that I don't think people talk about, and I don't think anybody that I've ever seen talks about this kind of stuff to help you out. The reality is this is a good spot for Boston. It's really a I think a good value play. So I would tell you that's play number one for us today. Is you take Boston. If it's minus 157, you're going to get it at what, plus 140, something like that. So I think that's probably a good value. I think you should do that, even if it's just beer and pizza money. I think that's something that you should do. And Boston's. I looked at their lineup earlier. O'Neill's in the game today. He's batting third. So you're not missing any of their big hitters today, like you did yesterday, and they still won. So I think you look at that and you got to understand how those things work. So I think that's play number one, and we'll get into play number two here. Play number two, I think one of the things you want to look at is, and I don't use trends and I don't use stuff like that, but I will say this: the Baltimore Orioles, as we know them today, so last year and this year, have gone so many different series since, I guess since they got Adley Rushman up to the big show. So many series without getting swept and so forth. And I think that just got ended, a month ago or so. They got swept by somebody. But they hadn't been swept in that whole time. Well, they faced that again today. So I think there's value in understanding that some teams have certain things that they get excited about and have extra motivation for. And I think that this is one of them. I think it's one of the things in Baltimore that manager or something has got this team focused on. We're not going to get swept, right? Some coaches, some managers have this thing about Sunday. It's a travel day. So your veteran managers have these veteran teams, and I'm going to rest this guy, I'm going to rest that guy because we get this day off, and then we're not playing on Monday, so we play on Tuesday. Gives them a couple of days off. Well, other managers go and say, I know certain teams don't try to win on Sunday all the time. So what we're going to do is we're going to attack Sunday. We're going to make Sunday that day for us. I get it. We're a young team. We're trying to learn how to win. I'm making this up. I mean, maybe it could be the Oakland A's or it could be whoever. But the point being is that these are things where managers go and attack certain aspects of the game, and they want to dominate a certain thing. And I think the Orioles are one of those teams that say we're not going to get swept in the series. We might lose a series, but we're not going to get swept. So I think mentally they come into this game with the idea that this is like a playoff game for us. So I think that's number one. Number two, when I looked at this game and I started breaking it down, the number one ISO team in baseball for the last 7 days is the Baltimore Orioles. ISO, you got to remember, it's isolated power. Isolated power is the measure of total bases and divided by at-bats. So, that's what baseball teams try to do today. That's what the offenses are, right? We talked about it several times. It doesn't hurt to refresh it, but, because some of the terminology I use sometimes I want to make sure everybody understands. But the point being is what happens is Major League Baseball offenses aren't trying to drive batting average, right? You know that. The batting average for Major League Baseball right now, as I looked it up this morning, is 242. And so they're not trying to go out and bat 300. That's not what they're doing. What they're trying to do, because here's what happens. If you go get a base hit and then the next guy gets a base hit, you got guys on first and second with nobody out. Well, then what ends up happening is the pitcher goes out and strikes out the next guy, gets a pop up and a ground out, and you don't score. So what they try to do in Major League Baseball today, they don't try to score one run. They try to get a guy on base. So maybe it's a base hit, maybe it's a walk. Who knows? Maybe you got on by air. Doesn't matter. Just as long as you get a guy on, then the next three guys, they're trying to hit home runs. That's what they do. They're trying to cause damage, doubles and home runs. So the reason is it's too hard. The pitchers are too good. This is the best pitching that's ever been in Major League Baseball, ever. The velocity, the movement on the ball, the spin rate, all the other stuff that you can measure, all the tools and stuff that they have made pitching dominantly better than it's ever been. So offenses don't try to score the way they used to, and they don't try to drive for batting average. They try to hit home runs and hit doubles. So if you're handicapping these games or teams, you kind of want to know how they do it that. Well, isolated power, ISO, is that spot. That's why sabermetrics is great, because they have tools where you can look at certain things and it'll give you the exact answer to stuff you want. In that relation, the Baltimore Orioles are number one in the last 7 days. So their offense is clicking. It's good. I have no issues. Their overall offense ranks number 2. They are 61% better than an average offense. That's dynamite. So the theory being now they come into this game with added focus because they're going to get swept if they lose. They have an offense that can work, and then they're going to pitch. The pitcher that they face today is Valdez. Now, Valdez's metrics, his xFIP, Sierra numbers, FIP numbers, they're all average. 4.11, 4.35, 3.49. He doesn't strike guys out anymore. His strikeout rate's only 6.19. That's the bottom 25% of all of baseball. So that tells me balls are going to be put in play. So they're going to hit it. It's just a matter of where does it go. His walk rate is average. Now, Valdez doesn't give up many home runs, but they do play in a bandbox out there. So it's possible that even though he doesn't give up or shown to give up much home runs, they might. So he's a ground ball guy. So it depends. So if you start seeing a bunch of ground balls, then he's doing pretty good. If you see fly balls, then you got to, Baltimore's got a pretty good shot here. So I like that we're not in a spot where balls are going, they're going to strike out all the time. So the other part of this is we got to hold Houston's offense down, and we got Suarez on the mound. Well, I'm a big proponent of the idea that if a guy goes out and throws a dud in his last time out, he's not going to do that again, and unless he's a bad pitcher. And Suarez is not a bad pitcher. His average game score for the season's a 54. If you're a 50, that's average across the board. But he's above that. He's a better than average pitcher by a pretty good margin. He's a 54. Give you an idea, Valdez is a 54 this year. So he's just as even as what Valdez is in terms of how his pitching performance has gone. And his last time that he pitched, he threw a game score 32. That's terrible. 32 is not very good at all. So as that goes on, he's not going to score. He's not going to throw that far below average again. So it's kind of like regress to the mean, right? In this case, it's progress to the mean. So he threw a terrible start. He's going to throw a lot better today. So I like the idea that this pitcher has the ability and in a spot where he's likely to hold this offense down. So I think Baltimore then turns into a spot today where you can get them. Where's the number? Baltimore. I had Houston at minus 120 is the line. My number is pick 'em 100 minus 100 plus 100. So I think you got 20 points of value there. That's almost 5% edge. You bet that. So I think Baltimore's a good spot here too. So I like that one. And then we're going to pick on Kyle Freeland today, pitching for Colorado. And we're going to take the small favorite here in Washington. And I don't like Freeland when he first was pitching in April. I thought it was weird because he's a soft tosser to begin with that he gained velocity. Oop, my light bulb burned out. There we go. And I think one of the important things to realize is that when you really face or change, we might just have to deal with this way. When you face or change a pitcher and his velocity, he's got to learn how to handle that and then learn what to do with it. And I don't think he was doing well with that. He made 4 starts. He was 1-3 in the starts he made. Of course, it's Colorado. They lose a lot of games anyway. But he was getting hammered. It's not like he was going out there throwing 7 innings and only giving up 2 runs and getting beat that way. He's giving up 5 runs in those games, 6 runs. So today they face Washington, and Washington got beat yesterday in that game. It was 8-7. So there's a lot of scoring, but I think there's a pitcher out there that people don't know, and his name is Jake Irvin, and he pitches for Washington. And Jake Irvin, I'm going to pull him up here for a second so we can get some metrics on Jake. Jake Irvin. So for the season, his game scores a 55. So now we know he's better than the 2 we just talked about with Suarez and with Valdez. Those guys were 54. So he matches Christopher Sanchez today from the Phillies, and he matches Miller from Seattle today in terms of his overall game score number. And the only guys that are beating him are guys like Paul Skeens and Freed and some of the major pitchers, Webb and Gray. Those guys are beating him. But when it comes to performance, he's really pretty good. And I don't think people realize how good he is. So first of all, coming across, he's got an xFIP number of 3.45. That's the best. Shouldn't say the best. It's in the top 25% of all of Major League Baseball. And you want to look at xFIP because I just mentioned that number. I make sure people know what I'm talking about. Fielding independent pitching is FIP. So we just talked about what offenses are trying to do. We measure that through ISO. They want to hit home runs, doubles, triples, and that kind of stuff. Pitchers are trying to prevent that. So here we go. Sabermetrics comes up with a perfect solution. Fielding independent pitching measures walks, strikeouts, home runs. That's all it does. It's so what an offense is trying to do, this is how a pitcher does against that offense. And with that little X that's in front of it, just means that it's a predictive number. So based on his metrics, that they can come up with a number that says over his next couple of starts, this is what he should average. And it's 3.45, top 25% in all of baseball. That's a key number. So when you have a guy like that who does well at handling what the offense is trying to do for the other side, you want to bet on those guys. And then you match that up with his mistake rate. How many mistakes does he make? Well, we can do that through sabermetrics too, and that's the win percent added column. In this particular case, he's 0.89 to the good. There's only one pitcher who's Lodolo for the Reds, but there's only one pitcher who's better at him, and that's him. And he doesn't make mistakes. He's going to go put the ball in the right spot and get the right outcomes. So it's a major difference in pitchers, and people don't know who his name is. And that's okay. He's not a big strikeout guy. He's an average strikeout guy, average walk guy. He's real good too, or I shouldn't say real good. He's average at, ground balls, average at whip rate, guys getting on base. But he's really good at preventing the big hits. His home run rate is 0.62, so that's a good number. So he's gonna face Colorado, and there are times, and I know that Colorado is one of the worst teams in baseball, but there are times you don't want to bet against Colorado because their offense can get going sometimes. Well, their offense is 19th right now, 8% above average. The offenses are doing pretty good right this minute, but 8% above average. So I think when you're talking about kind of an average-ish offense and you got a pretty good pitcher, the pretty good pitcher is going to handle that average-ish offense. And then on the vice versa side of that, Washington is 16th in offense, but 25% better than a regular offense. And they're going to face Freeland. And I like the idea that Freeland's going to struggle, and I like the idea that Washington has a small away favorite. I think they can do pretty well here. So what is that, 3 plays? We talked about the Boston, and we talked about Baltimore, and I just gave you the Washington game, and I'm going to give you one last one. And this one I think is a little bit of a stretch, but I'm going to give it to you because you can put beer and pizza money on it. And this is Kansas City today. I don't like betting on teams like Kansas City in a sense that they rank 29th in offense. I don't like that. I think that that's there's only 30 teams, and you're betting on one of the worst teams in baseball. That's on offense. That's not a very good formula for success. However, the reason I tell you to bet it is because, when you bet Major League Baseball, you bet value in lines. And this number for this game is, where'd it go? There it is. This number for this game is minus 145 for Texas. And that's because Scherzer's on the mound. And my number for the game was 108. So let's just say it's 110, make it like, a little bit of a pick. So that presents a lot of value to Kansas City. So can Kansas City actually hit? Well, they can. They got a superstar in Bobby Witt Jr. over there. They haven't surrounded him with much help, but they do have, a superstar. If Pasquantino can do halfway decent, he's a left-handed batter, so he gets to face Scherzer, the righty. So I like that matchup. But if they can get a little lucky here on offense, I think you're going to see that Kansas City is very competitive in the game. And the reason I tell you that they're going to be very competitive because Texas ain't hitting either. Texas's offense isn't very good, and Texas's offense is ranked 24th. So you have the 29th ranked offense and the 24th ranked offense. You better have a super pitching matchup to have it be a minus 145. And, okay, Scherzer, just by namesake, that's a super matchup, right? Because who's Alec Marsh for Kansas City? Nobody knows who Alec Marsh is. Well, let me say this. I'm going to look at it from this level. Alec Marsh has started 13 games for the Kansas City Royals. He has won 9 of those 13 starts. He's 9-4. Way, way, way better than you probably thought. He's a tricky guy. He's tricky because he doesn't have the best stuff in the world. And he does get hit from time to time. His bigger problem is that from time to time he throws the ball all over the place. Can't throw strikes. So why are we betting this guy, Scott? What's going on here? Well, what's going on is the value in the number and the idea that Texas is at 24th on offense. If Texas was top 5 in offense, I could say, nope, we're not doing this because they can hit Marsh and they're going to score and they'll outscore the 29th ranked offense in baseball. But I think this is competitive here. Secondly, I don't think that the Texas Rangers bullpen is the most dynamic thing in the world. Of course, I don't think Kansas City's is either. But so I think this is more of a pick 'em kind of game. It's home, and I think that Kansas City is in these spots where they got to start winning. Of course, I would say the same thing for Texas if they want to get back in this race and they want to get up there where they can catch Seattle. They're going to have to start winning games. So having Scherzer back probably makes them feel good. Has a little bit of confidence for that. But until you really see Scherzer pitch, you might be surprised. What are we known Scherzer for? 97 miles an hour, 95 miles an hour, right? Of course, he's getting older. He's not throwing that way anymore. What if he goes out and throws 90? What if he throws 91? What if he has to learn how to pitch a different way on the fly? I think that's what you're going to see. I think you're going to see Walker Buehler-esque type performances until he figures out what he's supposed to do because he's older. And his arms fell off a couple times, and now they got to put it back on, and he's got to figure out how to do it. So I think there's value here, and I think that when you have value, you bet it. And I think that those are spots today on Sunday where I think that you can make a little bit of money. So we talked about Baltimore, we talked about the Red Sox, we talked about the Nationals, we talked about the Royals. And I think that's 4 spots. That's probably enough to get you through the day. I appreciate everybody being here. There's quite a few people here on Sunday, so that I appreciate that. If you do have comments or concerns or questions, just write them in. I'll answer them, and then we'll talk about whatever it is you want. So if I didn't hit a game you wanted me to talk about, I'll do that. Prior to that, I'll be back. I won't be here on Monday. I'll be here Tuesday night, 6:15 on the weekday shows. 6:15 on Tuesday, 6:15 on Wednesday, 6:15 on Friday. And then on the weekends, we do them at noon. And follow me on Twitter. I had a couple people follow me from the last show. That was great. Follow me there at Webby20MLB. I put out some different things from time to time through there. Do a lot of retweeting on injuries, reports, different things I find. A lot of stuff comes through my way. Go to my website, mlb-daily.com. You can get a lot of information there, a lot of stuff, write articles and different things that I've written. If you want to sign up for the free newsletter, you can do that there. If you want to become a client, you can do that there. I do charge $100, and I give out plays that I make. Plus, I give out all the data points, all the stuff I just told you about. I do that every day. I make my own numbers. Webby odds, I publish every day. A Webby EV Plus tool, so you can kind of look at what my number is versus a line, and then you can come up with the EV positive betting percentage. I think it's a great tool. The pitcher reports, the offense reports, even weather breakdowns, that kind of stuff, every single day comes out. So if you want to be a client to do that, it's $100, whatever, it's all good. And then we go from there. So anyway, point being is I appreciate you guys coming on. Good luck today. I hope you have a great Sunday. And let's hope that we get these done. And, again, next time, make sure you make some ask some comments, ask some questions. Be glad to answer them for you. And let's have a great day today. Thanks, guys, for coming. I really appreciate it.